Hi guys, good morning. In the last class, we have seen what is Kubernetes architecture, and we are able to set up Kubernetes provider managed cluster by using AWS, EKS, and we are able to deploy application by using Kubernetes deployment, and we exposed our Kubernetes deployment by using load balancer service. So in order to deploy our application on the Kubernetes cluster, we are using kubectl. What is kubectl? Kubectl is a command line utility to send a request to Kubernetes control plane to deploy the application. And what is pod? In the Kubernetes, everything will be deployed as a pod. Pod is a smallest building block that we can deploy in the Kubernetes cluster. Inside the pod, container will be created. So to create the pod, we are using manifest YML. In the manifest YML, API version, kind, metadata, and specification will be available. So once we create the pod, by default, those pods are available. When we create the pod, by default, those pods are accessible only within the cluster. If you want to access the pods outside the cluster, then we need to go for service concept in the Kubernetes. So there are three types of services available in the Kubernetes. One is called as cluster IP, second one is node port, and the third one is load balancer. So once we have deployment YML, in this YML, we are configuring our Docker image. This Docker image is public Docker image. The Kubernetes will download the Docker image from the Docker Hub, will create the container inside the pod, and service available as a load balancer. One load balancer will be created for our application. By using that load balancer, we can access our application. Got it? Now, next one. So here we have seen the commands by using kubectl. Kubectl apply -f YML. So what is the purpose of kubectl apply command, which is used to deploy our application by using manifest YML? What is the purpose of kubectl get pods command? So how many pods are running in the cluster we can get by using get pods? What services are available in the cluster we can get by using get service command? If you want to see the logs of the pod, then you can go for kubectl logs command. And if you want to see the deployments which are available, you can go for kubectl get deployment. So let me connect with my kubectl machine. EKS host VM is available. Let us connect with this machine using mobile Xtrum. Cluster is still up and running, guys. So let's connect with the machine and check it. The cluster status, EC2-user, PEM file. We created one PEM file. Connect. So with this, I'm able to connect with my host machine in which our kubectl software is available. So let's execute kubectl get nodes. It will display how many nodes are available in the cluster. One control plane is available. Control plane we created by using EKS, and for that control plane, 2 worker nodes are available. From 23 hours, the nodes are still running. The status of the nodes is ready. Then let's go for kubectl get pods command. So what is kubectl get pods? Number of pods that are available in the cluster. So by default, it is checking in the which namespace, default namespace. Now kubectl get deployment. So do we have any deployment available? Deployment not available. Kubectl get service. Do we have any service here? Yes, there is a service is available. That is load balancer service which we have. Let me delete that. Kubectl delete service. What is the name of the service? Java web app service is available. So I'm deleting my service. So with this, in the cluster, nothing is available. Everything is clean. Now I want to deploy one Spring Boot application in the Kubernetes cluster. So yesterday we deployed normal Java web application by using Tomcat server. Now I want to deploy one Spring Boot application in the Kubernetes cluster, and I want to monitor logs of that application. I have one Spring Boot application Docker image. Let me go to Docker Hub account. Go to Docker Hub account. So Spring Boot log application is available in my Docker Hub account. Let me log in. Right. Yeah. So this is my Docker Hub account. Here there is a image available with a name called Ashok IT/SB Logger app. So this is our Spring Boot application, which is having time leaf, and in that application I have implemented CAD operations. Okay, so let me take this image SB-logger-app. Now here we are having a deployment YML. ls-l Java web application deployment YML file is available. Let me copy that YML. CP Java web app deployment YML. I'm naming it as Spring Boot app.yml. Okay, I have used CP command. What is the purpose of CP command? To copy the content of one file to another file. From this Java web app YML, I copied this SB app.yml. Now I want to edit that file. What is the command to edit the file? vi. So let me go for vi sb app.yml. Go to insert mode. Okay, I don't want to change anything, just I want to change my Docker image. So this deployment YML file is going to deploy the Docker container based on the Docker image. What is the Docker image available currently? So currently the Docker image is Ashok IT/Java web app. Now I want to deploy SB Logger app. That's it. So here deployment YML is available. Just let me change this Ashok IT/SB Logger app. SB-logger-app. So Spring Boot application will run on the embedded container. What is the port number of the embedded container? 8080. And service is available. What is the service I'm taking? Load balancer. What is the meaning of load balancer service? So a load balancer URL will be generated. It will distribute the load to our pods which are available. How many pods will be created? 2. I'm giving the replicas as 2. That means 2 pods will be created. This is my Docker image. So if you go for either Python application or Angular application or React application, Java application or .NET application, the only change will be image name. That's it. The deployment file is common for all the application. The only thing, which image you want to use to create the container. So yesterday I have used Java web application image. Today I am using Spring Boot Logger application image. Let me save this file. Okay, escape WQ. I have saved this YML file. So if you want to print the content of the YML, cat sb app.yml. Now you can see that deployment YML is available, 2 replicas available. For that I am giving the image name as SB Logger app. Container port is 8080. I am writing a service because when the pods are created, by default, those pods are accessible within the cluster. I want to expose the pods outside the cluster also. That's the reason I'm writing a service manifest in the YML. There are 3 types of services available in the Kubernetes: cluster IP, node port, and load balancer. I'm going for load balancer. Perfect. My YML file is ready. So let's check it. kubectl get pods. Do I have any pods now? No pods are available. Can you tell me how to create the pods? Come on. kubectl apply -f sb app.yml. So before going to create the pods, let us go for EC2 dashboard, refresh. Any load balancer is available? Currently load balancers are not available. Now execute it. Now you can see deployment got created successfully. Service also got created successfully. Let's go for kubectl get pods. Now container is creating. What is the meaning of that? So pod is created. Inside the pod, our container is getting created. Now you can see initially when I execute get pods, it is saying the message container creating. Now when I execute get pods, it is saying that containers are running. So pods created, pods are up and running. Now can we check the logs of the pod? How to check the logs of the pod? kubectl logs pod name. kubectl logs pod name. Now execute. You can see that. What is this log message? What is this log message? Spring Boot application console message. When you run the Spring Boot application, what messages will be generated? We can see those messages. Now application started. Tomcat server started with the port number 8080. Okay, we are able to see logs of the pods. How many pods available? 2 pods available. When I send a request, it will go to which pod? So people will access our application by using load balancer URL. Application running in 1 pod, application running in 2 pods, application running in the 2 pods. So request will go to which pod? Load balancer. First request will go to first server, second request will go to second server. Do I need to do anything for the load balancing, or it is inbuilt concept in the Kubernetes? Load balancing is inbuilt concept in the Kubernetes. Let me go for kubectl get deployment. So you can see I am trying to create the deployment for my boot application. I have given replica count as 2. So 2 replicas created, those 2 are available, 2 out of 2 is ready. That means both are in action. Both pods are ready to handle the request. Now check the service. kubectl get service is available. Now, so can you see Java web application service created with the type as a load balancer. Load balancer URL is available. Now to access our application, we need to use this load balancer URL. Are you guys clear? Go to EC2 dashboard. Earlier, how many load balancers are there? 0. Now refresh. Load balancer created or not? Load balancer created. Go to this load balancer. Select the load balancer or open this load balancer which got created. Load balancer created today. This is yesterday load balancer, guys. Now, so let us select the today load balancer. In this load balancer, record type DNS name will be available. Copy the DNS name. So load balancer is having a DNS name. Copy this DNS name. Now go to browser, type that URL. Now I'm trying to access my application. So now for this context path is required, context path is not required. For Spring Boot applications, context path will not be available. When you go for normal Java web application, context path will be available. For Spring Boot application, context path will not be available. Now I'm able to access the load balancer URL. My application is running. Go to view all products. Now check it. Any product is available now? Not available. Add the new product. Product name something like mouse. Product price 100. Quantity 15. Click on submit. Product saved successfully. Go to view products. One product record is available. Click on add new product. Product name hard disk. Okay. Product price 4,500. Quantity 5. Click on submit. Name should have minimum 3 and maximum 15 characters. So SSD, or else let me take a keyboard. Okay. Click on submit. Product saved. View products. So 2 records available. If you remember, this project we developed in the Spring Boot class for the CRUD operation. So same project I deployed as a Docker by using Kubernetes cluster. For this Spring Boot application, I created a Docker image. That Docker image I stored in my Docker Hub account 2 months back. Right now, today I'm using that Docker image. I'm deploying my application in the Kubernetes cluster. Okay, fine. Application is running successfully. Application running successfully, and we are able to access our application. Now I want to access logs of the application. I want to see how my request got processed. If some problem occurred in the request, how to troubleshoot that problem as a developer. So do you know how to monitor logs of the application? Come on, how to monitor? kubectl get pods. kubectl get pods. Pods are running. Pod name, if every pod is having a name. How to check the logs of the pod? kubectl logs pod name. kubectl logs pod name. Execute it. Now, can you see the log messages are printing? Product view page loaded, product saved, product view page loaded, product view page loaded. Are we able to see that the logs are available? Yes, we are able to see that product form validations failed. There is a validation message. First time I tried to insert record with 2 characters in the name. Validation message came. So for that log message is printing on the console. Now we are able to check logs of our application. Okay, currently I am deploying my application in the Kubernetes cluster. I have the access for the cluster. I'm able to execute get pods command. I'm able to see the pods available. I know the pod name and I'm able to get the logs of the pod. But in the real time, can we connect it to the cluster as a developer? No, as a developer, we will not have the access for the cluster in the real time. So cluster will be managed by DevOps engineer. As a developer, we will not have the access for the cluster. So this deployment process, the deployment YML creation, deploying the application, monitoring the logs in the cluster will be taken care by DevOps engineer. Now, if some problem occurs in our application, as a developer, we need to troubleshoot the problem by checking logs of the application. So where the application is running now? Application is running in the local machine, or application running in the Kubernetes cluster. Application running in the Kubernetes cluster. Kubernetes cluster is available in the AWS cloud. My application running in the Kubernetes cluster. Kubernetes cluster is available in the AWS cloud. What are the benefits of going for the Kubernetes now? What are the benefits of going for the Kubernetes? High availability will be available. Load balancing will be available. Self-healing capability will be available. What is the meaning of self-healing capability? If one pod went down, if one pod goes down, another pod will come up. Okay. Always it will maintain the given number of pods. I mentioned the pod count as 2. Always 2 pods will be available. If one pod crashed, automatically new pod will come. That is called self-healing capability in the Kubernetes. So now more traffic is coming for my application. Now I am going to increase the pods to 10. When I increase the pods to 10, how the request will be distributed to 10 pods? Do I need to take care of that? Do I need to take care of that? No. It will be taken care by Kubernetes by default. Auto scaling, high availability, load balancing, self-healing, all these are inbuilt functionalities in the Kubernetes. That is the reason in the companies, people are using Kubernetes to deploy the application. So Kubernetes is used for orchestration. What is the meaning of orchestration? Yes, managing the containers is called as orchestration. Able to follow this? Right. What is the difference between Docker and Kubernetes? What is the difference between Docker and Kubernetes? Docker is used for containerizing our application. Kubernetes is used for orchestrating our application. Okay. I have Dockerized my Spring Boot application by using a Docker file. Docker image is created. That a Docker image available in the Docker Hub. Using that Docker image, I deployed that application in the Kubernetes cluster by using deployment YML. Once the deployment is created, pods got created. By default, pods are accessible within the cluster. Now, am I able to access the pods outside the cluster? Yes, we are able to access the pods outside the cluster. How come we are able to access the pods outside the cluster? by using service. In the Kubernetes, there is a concept called service. How many types of services available? There are 3 types of services available. What are those 3 types? Cluster IP, load balancer, and node port. Cluster IP means within the cluster, we will have an IP to access them. Node port means based on the node IP, we can access that. Load balancer means one load balancer LBR URL will be generated. Using that, we can access our application. Okay, fine. Now, in the real time, logs monitoring will happen by using EFK. Some companies will go for Splunk. Splunk is a commercial software. So in the initial classes of Log4j, I have shown you the video how the Splunk will be available, how to monitor the logs of the application by using Splunk. Now, as the Splunk is licensed software, we can't set up that in our machines. So that's why I'm going for EFK. So EFK stack will be available in the project to monitor logs of the application. EFK is the combination of 3 products, guys. EFK is the combination of 3 products. So the first one is Elasticsearch. What is the first one? Elasticsearch. Second one is FileBeat or FluentD. So you can say it as FileBeat or FluentD will be available. And the third one is Kibana. So total there are 3 products are available. EFK is the combination of 3 products. First one, Elasticsearch. Second one, FluentD. Third one, Kibana. By using these 3 products, we can monitor logs of the application which is running in the Kubernetes cluster. Okay. Now here, what is the purpose of this FluentD, Elasticsearch, and Kibana? FluentD is responsible to collect logs from pods and store into Elasticsearch. Clear, guys? What is FluentD? FluentD is a pod. FluentD is also a pod which we are going to deploy in the cluster. What that FluentD will do? FluentD is responsible to collect logs from the pods and store into Elasticsearch. So what is Elasticsearch? Elasticsearch is a log lake in which logs will be stored and it will index logs for retrieval. Right. Whatever the logs are generated by the pods, FluentD is going to collect the logs from the pods. FluentD will store the logs in the Elasticsearch. We can say Elasticsearch is a database for storing the logs. So all the logs we need to store at one place. That is called Elasticsearch. Elasticsearch is a log lake, or I can say log DB. Elasticsearch is a log lake in which logs will be stored and it will index the logs for the faster retrieval. Okay, for faster retrieval, it is going to index our log messages. And the next one, Kibana is available. Kibana is a web application. Kibana is a web application which provides user interface to fetch logs from Elasticsearch. Got my point? So there are 3 products available. What are those 3 products? First one, Elasticsearch. Second one, FluentD. Third one, Kibana. What is FluentD? FluentD is responsible to collect logs from the pods and store into Elasticsearch. What is Elasticsearch? Elasticsearch is a log lake in which logs will be stored and it will index logs for the faster retrieval. Then what is Kibana? Kibana is a web application which provides user interface to fetch the logs from Elasticsearch. So if you see in our video, the diagram is available. Yeah, can you see this diagram? Yes, you can see here what is EFK stack. EFK stack is a collection of 3 open source products. One is Elasticsearch, FluentD, and Kibana. This EFK stack provides centralized logging in order to identify problems with servers or applications. When our application is executing, there is a chance of getting some problem, right? If you want to understand where is the problem in the application, you need to check the logs of the application. So to monitor the logs at one place, so there are several pods available. Assume that there are 10 pods available, 10 pods having 10 different logs. All the logs I want to monitor at one place. That is called centralized logging. To go for centralized logging, we will go for EFK stack. Now, it allows you to search for the logs at the single place. Elasticsearch is used for storing the logs. It is called as a log lake. Fluentd for shipping, processing, and storing the logs in the Elasticsearch. Kibana, it is a visualization tool to monitor logs by using user interface, right? So this is EFK architecture, guys. EFK architecture. Now our applications will execute microservices. I can say pods available, 2 pods available. Every pod will generate its own log messages. So all the logs. So Brigitte, you're sleeping. So I have pods in my application. There are 2 pods available. Every pod will generate the log messages. So Fluentd will be available to read the logs from the pod and store the logs in the Elasticsearch. Then Kibana will connect it to the Elasticsearch. Kibana will fetch the logs from the Elasticsearch, will give in the dashboard. Now, if you see, this is the Kibana dashboard. So like this one, user interface will be available. By using that user interface, we can get the logs. All right. Now here in the Kubernetes, I'm deploying that application. Okay. Application deployment done in the Kubernetes cluster. We are able to access our application. Application generating the log messages. Those are called pod logs. Application running in the pod logs will be available. Now I want to get the logs. Generally, you can go for kubectl logs command. But what is the problem with the kubectl logs? Developer cannot access that machine. That machine access will not be available for the developer. Now, this is the full architecture of our EFK stack. So pods will be available in the cluster. Fluentd pods we are going to deploy, right? Then from the Fluentd, logs will go to Elasticsearch. Elasticsearch will maintain the logs in the database. Then Kibana will be deployed as a web application. Kibana will get the logs from the Elasticsearch. Who will do this setup? DevOps people. So this EFK setup also will done by DevOps people. They will give you Kibana URL to access the logs of the application. Now, so there are several manifest YML files are available to deploy EFK stack in the cluster. Okay, let me go to my GitHub repository. Go to GitHub repository. So in the GitHub repository, you can see Kubernetes manifest YMLs available. Kubernetes manifest YML files available. In the Kubernetes manifest YMLs, there is a folder called EFK log folder is available. Now, we need to go to that EFK log. There are 7 YML files are available. So what is the purpose of these 7 YML files? These 7 YML files are used to deploy Elasticsearch, Fluentd, and Kibana in the cluster. Fluentd, Kibana, and Elasticsearch. These are also softwares. We are going to deploy those softwares as pods in the cluster. Now, let me go to this manifest YML repository. Let me clone in my machine. Let me connect it to this machine. Now, clear. Application is already running, guys. Application is already running. Now let me go for git clone. I'm going to clone my repository, which contains the YML files. What is the error? Git command not found. How to deal with that? Sudo yum install git. I'm downloading git client software so that I can clone my repository. Okay, done. Git clone. So with this Kubernetes manifest YML files, I'm able to clone ls-l Yes. Manifest YMLs directory created. CD space that directory. I am going inside the directory by using CD command. ls-l. Now, so here there are several folders available. One of the folder EFK log folder. CD space EFK log folder. Clear. ls-l. Now there are 7 YML files are available to create the namespace, to create the service, stateful set, config map, daemon set, deployment, Kibana service. Like that, there are 7 manifest YML files are available. Simply, I'm going to execute all those YML files. Okay. How to execute the YML file? How to execute the YML file? kubectl apply -f file name. How many YMLs I need to execute? 7. kubectl apply -f space star. So when I give star, what will happen? All the files will be executed. If all the files are executed, what will happen? Elasticsearch will be created. You can see Elasticsearch YMLs are available. Fluentd YMLs are available. Kibana YMLs are available. Okay. Okay. So those pods will be created inside a package. Okay. Good. Execute. Unexpected. Okay. kubectl apply -f dot. Okay. So if I give dot, it is checking for the files which are available in the present working directory. All these YML files got executed. What is the namespace it is created? EFK log namespace is created. Now let's go here. kubectl get pods. When I go for kubectl get pods, which pods are coming? Application pods are coming. Spring Boot application pods. -n EFK log. -n EFK log is available. Now, what is available? Which pods are available? Which pods are available? Elasticsearch pods are available. Fluentd pods are available. And Kibana pods are available. Okay, guys. Now, you can see the pods are getting created. Now, my pods, our application pods available. EFK pods are available. So am I combining them? Am I grouping them separately? I'm grouping them separately. Our pods are created in the default namespace. EFK pods are created in the EFK log namespace. So namespace is nothing but a package. They are used to group the components. In the Java, we will use the package to group the classes. Okay. Now you can check. Now pods, status of the pods. What is the status of the pods? All the pods are running. So here for Elasticsearch, how many pods available? 2 pods are available. For Fluentd, how many pods available? 2 pods available. For Kibana, how many pods available? 1 pod is available. Now I want to access Kibana. I want to access Kibana service. Kibana is deployed as a load balancer. How to get the service of the Kibana? kubectl get service -n EFK log. Okay. Am I able to see Kibana logging with the load balancer? Yes, this is the load balancer URL of the Kibana. You can go to our EC2 dashboard. Earlier, how many load balancers available? 2. Now, okay, 1 minute. Yes, so load balancer got created. So this is our application load balancer and this is Kibana load balancer. So previous load balancer got deleted. That was yesterday's load balancer. So at 10:17, I created one load balancer that is for the application. Today at 10:38, one more load balancer created. So which is the latest load balancer? Kibana load balancer is the latest load balancer. Now go to this, access DNS name. Okay, take the DNS name and go here and access that URL. I'm trying to access that URL. That URL belongs to which application? That URL belongs to Kibana URL. That is Kibana load balancer URL. Let me check the load balancer. Do we have security group? In that security group, inbound rules, inbound rule, add the rule, custom TCP, 5601 is already enabled. Kibana will run on the 5601. Yep. Load balancer URL colon port number. What is the port number of the Kibana? 5601. Now with this, I'm able to access Kibana dashboard. Now, do you want to try the Kibana with the sample data, or do you want to explore on your own? I want to explore on my own. So with this, we are able to get the Kibana dashboard. Once you go for Kibana dashboard, in order to monitor the logs, we need to create index pattern. We need to create a index pattern. So index pattern, I'm giving as a star. Okay. So I want to give the index pattern as a star. Click on next step. Time filter based on the timestamp. Based on the timestamp, I want to create the index pattern. So with this, my index pattern got created in order to get the logs of the application. Okay, fine. Refresh this. Refresh this. So with this, I'm able to create the index pattern in order to monitor logs of the application. Once you create the index pattern, Kibana dashboard fetching the logs of the application. So this is the dashboard. This is the dashboard which is used to fetch the logs of our application. Currently, which logs it is printing? All the Kubernetes logs it is printing. Now, here you can get the logs. Today logs you can get, last 15 minutes logs you can get, last 1 hour logs also you can get. Let me go for last 1 hour refresh. Now, these are the log messages which are generated in the last 1 hour of time. Now let me do one thing. Let me type here search as product and click on update. Now, so click on search. What is this message? What is this message? So who generated this log message? Our controller. When controller generated this log message? June 23, 2023 at 10:40, this product page loaded, log message is available. Okay, product got saved, and product form validations failed, product view page loaded, product saved. So now, as a developer, do I need to execute kubectl log command, or I can get the logs from the Kibana? We can get the logs from the Kibana. So here you need to know how to access Kibana dashboard, how to filter the logs based on the requirement. Okay, I want to get the logs based on the range, right? So last 15 minutes logs I want to get, apply. So if you want to get the logs based on the dates, right? I want to get the logs based on the dates, right? You can get the logs. So based on the timestamp, the logs will be refreshed here. When the log messages are generated, a dashboard will be available. Tomorrow, when you join in the company, they will give you Kibana URL or Splunk URL. Splunk setup, Kibana setup, that is not our duty. So that will done by DevOps engineers in the project. So they will give you Kibana URL. So by using that URL, you need to log in into the Kibana application. You need to access the Kibana. Go to the Kibana. Now you want to see where is the problem. Now I want to check for exception. Where is the log message which contain exception in the last 15 minutes? Click on refresh. Now no results match with your criteria. In the log messages, there is no line which contains the exception keyword. So let me go for failed. Click on update. Now, is there any log message available with a keyword called failed? Yes, failed to flush the buffer. Product form validations failed. So my log message contains a keyword called failed. So when I give the keyword, it is searching for the messages which are matching with the given keyword. only those messages it is going to retrieve. Suppose we are getting some error message in the login page. Okay, then I will go. We are getting some exception in the login page. Now what I will do? I will go to the Kibana when the exception occurred. Exception occurring from last 1 hour. Select the last 1 hour. Type the keyword as exception or whatever the login that you have. Okay. In the save functionality, we are getting the exception. Save last 1 hour. Update the logs. So with that, no log message is matching. Now go for saved. Now when I click on saved, we are able to get those messages. There are 2 log messages available with the message contains product saved and product saved. How many records I have inserted in the application? 2 records inserted, 2 times log message generated. Those are 2 logs I am able to get from the Kibana. So this is called log monitoring in the real time. So whenever application is executing in the real time, it may be executing in the dev environment, maybe SIT, maybe UAT, maybe production. If some issue occur in the application, as a developer, we are responsible to check the logs of the application and we need to fix the problem. So to do the logs checking, you need to know EFK stack or Splunk. Splunk is a commercial software. EFK is open source. Is it difficult to set up the EFK? What I have done? Just I have taken the YML files and I have executed those YML files by using kubectl apply -f. So once you execute the YML, Kibana will be generated with the load balancer. So use the load balancer URL with :5601. Kibana dashboard is open. Then access the dashboard, create the index pattern, then create the timestamp. Then you can monitor the logs. So if you see that video yesterday which I have given, same process. Very clearly I explained in the video how to set up EFK in the Kubernetes cluster. Are you guys clear? So with this, we are able to complete our discussion related to Kubernetes deployments, right? Kubernetes deployment, Kubernetes service, Kubernetes load balancer, and EFK stack setup to monitor logs of the application. What is FluentD? What is FluentD? FluentD is used to collect the logs from the pods. If you have 10 pods, then FluentD, if you have 10 worker nodes, in every worker node, FluentD will be available. FluentD will collect the logs from the pods. So what FluentD will do after collecting the logs from the pods? FluentD will store the logs in the Elasticsearch. What is Elasticsearch? Elasticsearch is a log lake where all the log messages will be stored. Then Kibana is available. What is Kibana? Kibana is one web application which will get the logs from the Elasticsearch. Kibana will provide user interface to monitor the log. You can retrieve the logs based on the time. You can retrieve the logs based on the pattern. You can retrieve the logs based on the dates also. Are you clear with this? Good. So with this, we are good. Docker, Kubernetes, and EFK. So tell me, what are the advantages of going with Docker? First advantages. Containerization. What is the meaning of containerization? Right? It will package code plus dependencies. Do I need to bother about Java installation? Do I need to bother about Tomcat installation? Do I need to bother about Angular installation? Do I need to bother about React installation? Everything will be taken care by Docker. That is called containerization. Right? By using Docker, we will create the images. Right? In the real time, people will use the Docker to create the image. But container creation we can do with the Docker, but that is a manual process. In the real time, people will use orchestration platform to create the containers. So what is the orchestration platform we are having? Kubernetes. What the Kubernetes is doing? Management. It can create the container. It can scale up the container. It can scale down the containers also. Management will be done by using orchestration. And the next one, we are having several advantages in the Kubernetes. What are those advantages? First one is self-healing. What is the meaning of self-healing? If anything is damaged, then it is going to replace that. Now, next one, load balancing is available. Load balancing. Two pods are available. Load will be distributed to both the pods in the round robin fashion. And what is the third feature available? Auto scaling. Auto scaling is available. Okay. So when the number of requests are increasing, pods will be increased. When the number of requests are decreasing, pods will be decreased. That concept is called as HPA. What is that concept? HPA. HPA nothing but horizontal pod auto scaling. If the more number of requests are coming, pods count should be increased. If the less number of requests are coming, pods count should be decreased. That is called horizontal pod auto scaling in the Kubernetes. Okay. Who will do that horizontal pod auto scaling? Are we going to do that? First of all, are you going to get the chance to implement this Kubernetes setup in the machines in the real time? No. So all these things will be done by DevOps engineers. Here, what is this video? Horizontal pod autoscaler setup in the Kubernetes. That means if I send the more number of requests, Kubernetes is increasing the pods count or not. If I reduce the traffic to the cluster, Kubernetes is decreasing the pod count or not. I have explained that in this video. What is horizontal pod autoscaler? How to configure horizontal pod autoscaler in the Kubernetes cluster. If you are interested, you can go for that. If a less number of users are accessing, one pod will be available. If a more number of users are accessing, more pods will be created. Do I need to create the pods manually, or pods creation will happen automatically? Pod creation will happen automatically. But for that, we need to enable HPA in the Kubernetes. Horizontal pod autoscaler concept will be available. We need to enable that concept in the cluster. Then auto scaling also will happen. That is also inbuilt functionality in the Kubernetes cluster. Self-healing, load balancing, auto scaling, all these things are part of Kubernetes. Docker only for containerization. For management, Kubernetes we are going to use. Are you guys clear with this? Perfect. Good guys. Now I want to delete my cluster. Cluster task is completed. Now I want to delete the cluster. Otherwise, bill will be generated. Okay. What is that machine? So let me show you the command to delete the cluster. Right. Instances, EKS host is available. Copy the IP, connect it to the machine. Why it is disconnecting frequently? I'm not understanding that. EC2 user, go to the private key. PEM file is available. Click on OK. Fine. We are able to connect with the machine. kubectl delete all -all. So I want to delete all the pods, all the deployments, all the services which I have created. My application deployment I am deleting. Now for our application, load balancer URL generated. Can we map that URL to the domain name? By using Route 53, we can map that load balancer to the domain name. Then our application can be accessed by using domain name. Now let me delete kubectl delete namespace efk log. Yeah, I'm deleting that efk stack also. If you delete the package, all the classes in the package will be deleted. If I delete the namespace, all the pods in the namespace will be deleted. Guys, Kubernetes, I have learnt on my own. When I start Kubernetes batch, 300 to 400 people will come for that. So that is the demand available for the Kubernetes in the market. When we are teaching DevOps, we will spend 1 month for Jenkins, Docker, and Kubernetes for the DevOps people, because they need to work on those tools on daily basis. So as a DevOps engineer, they need to completely work on Jenkins, Docker, and Kubernetes. Kubernetes is very interesting and difficult subject. So in the Amirpet also, there is no correct faculty who will give the Kubernetes in-depth knowledge. When we conduct an online batch for the Kubernetes, 400-500 people will come. In that batch, minimum to minimum, 90% of the people already working in the IT industry as a software engineer. So they know the importance of the Kubernetes. So without Kubernetes, DevOps engineer cannot do the job. DevOps engineer cannot get the job without having the complete knowledge on the Kubernetes. So Kubernetes is very important software in the real time to deploy our applications in the productions. So even my project deployment will happen on the Kubernetes. So Docker is there, Kubernetes is there, Jenkins is there. Right. So with this, I'm able to delete everything which I have created in the Kubernetes cluster. Let me go for EC2 dashboard, load balancer. What is the count of the load balancer? 0. Now, let me go for EKS. EKS, Elastic Kubernetes Service is available. My cluster is running. What is the status of the cluster? Active. Now I want to delete the cluster. Okay. Now what is the command to delete the cluster? What is the command to delete the cluster? EKS CTL cluster delete cluster. EKS CTL delete cluster _, name, cluster name and region. In which region cluster is available? AP South 1. Now what is happening? You can see that my Kubernetes cluster is getting deleted. Right. So this is the command which we are going to use to delete the cluster. EKSCTL command. If you give create, cluster will be created. If you give delete, cluster will be deleted. EKSCTL delete cluster, name of the cluster, region, in which region our cluster got created. So after practice is completed, delete the cluster. After practice completed, delete EKS cluster. Delete EKS cluster. This is the command. So this is the name of the cluster and this is our region. All right. Now EKS cluster. So for FluentD setup, I have given Git repository here. So here my Kubernetes manifest YMLs are available to delete. These are Git repo for EFK YMLs, EFK setup YMLs. Right. You can download the YML files from this Git repository. You can set up the EFK log monitoring. Log monitoring using EFK, the video is available. EFK stack setup, Git repository is available. Delete EKS cluster once your practice is completed. Cluster is getting deleted. Go to that dashboard and verify the status. Refresh. Still it is in the active. It will take some time to delete the cluster. When the cluster is getting deleted, first it will delete worker nodes available in the cluster. Then the main cluster will be deleted. Now, so you can see EC2 dashboard, the nodes, instances. So the instances earlier, the worker nodes were running. Now can you see the status of the worker nodes? What is the status now? Terminated. Now currently one more machine is available that will also go to terminated state. So don't stop this, guys. You have to wait till all this process got deleted successfully. So if you terminate in the middle, cluster will not be deleted properly, then daily, hourly bill will be generated. Got it? Fine. Any questions, anyone? Online people? Anybody having any doubts? You can unmute your mic and you can ask me. Any questions on Kubernetes deployment, EFK setup in the Kubernetes? Anybody having any questions or any doubts on the Kubernetes?
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Sir, like using of Kubernetes load balancer was just like we use microservices. There is load balancer, right?
That is client side load balancer. This is server side load balancer.
Oh, okay, sir. Got it.
Yeah. And next one. Next, we need to practice Jenkins, right? We need to understand what is Jenkins and why we need to go for Jenkins. I think 1 month back, I have given assignment to watch the Jenkins video. How many of you gone through that? So if anybody has not gone through that, what is Jenkins? What is the purpose of Jenkins? That video is trending in the YouTube as well. Within 4 months, it reached to 70,000 people. So that means if you see the popular videos, 7 months back, I conducted a workshop on the Jenkins. 85,000 people have seen that video. Why those many people are watching? Important. Why they are watching? Important. Okay. So 2 hours video is there on the Jenkins. In that video, I have explained what is the Jenkins, why Jenkins, what is the CI/CD process, how to work with the CI/CD process by using Jenkins. And we need to set up Jenkins software in the Linux machine. To set up the Jenkins software, I have prepared one document, guys. I will share that document in our portal. So if you go to DevOps documents, here you can see Jenkins setup PDF is available. Jenkins setup PDF document is available. How to set up Jenkins in Linux virtual machine. Okay. Jenkins setup is available. Let me download this file. Or else it is there in my personal laptop, guys. I will upload that in the portal. So this PDF document with the proper screenshots I have given how to set up Jenkins in the Linux machine. So we have next class on Monday. Tomorrow I will not be available for the class. So tomorrow and today you practice that log monitoring and Kubernetes concepts. Once your practice is completed, delete the Kubernetes cluster. Once the Kubernetes cluster deletion got completed, set up the Jenkins machine. So if you need to create one Linux virtual machine and you need to install Jenkins in that machine. So Jenkins setup I will give you. If you have Docker, easily you can set up the Jenkins with the help of Docker also. For the Jenkins, ready-made Docker image is available. So whatever the document is available, that is Jenkins setup manually. If you have the Docker software in the machine, using Docker, you can run the Jenkins. Using Docker also, we can run the Jenkins. So if you want to run the Jenkins by using Docker, you just need to use this command. Docker run -d -p 80:80 space Jenkins/Jenkins. What is this? What is this command? Which is used to run the Jenkins server. We can access that Jenkins server in the Linux machine. Already you have your computer. In that computer, Jenkins is available. In the Docker is available. You just need to run the Jenkins image. Then Jenkins software will be available for you. So you go through this video. You have 2 days of time. So you will understand what is the Jenkins, what is CI/CD. In the Monday class, directly I will open the Jenkins and I will try to create the Jenkins pipeline. I'm not going to explain the theory once again. So if you watch that video, you will understand theory clearly. 1.5 hour theory is there. Half an hour practicals available in that video. In that video, I explain how to deploy one Java web application in the Tomcat server. Okay. So I have taken one Tomcat server. I have taken Jenkins server. I deployed Java web application in the Tomcat server by using Jenkins. So I want you to complete the theory and I want you to complete the Jenkins setup before coming to Monday session. Monday directly I will write the pipeline to deploy our Spring Boot application by using Docker in the Jenkins machine. Are you guys clear? So this is the task for you for the 2 days of time. Thank you. We'll see you on Monday.
Hello. Hello. Hello, sir.
Yeah. Hi.
Sir, I'm from Java full stack student.
Yes.
Please share me the SBMS total workspace, sir.
Sure. Today I will send that.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.